Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Sunday Wire. Again, I'm your host, Patrick Henningsen. We're streaming out live on X, YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, Facebook Live, as well as a number of audio streams and the Alternate Current Radio Network, 21stcenturywire.com. You can catch us on all of those platforms during and after the program. Hello to everybody in the 21 Wire chat room. Sorry I haven't been able to interact with you yet today, but it's great to see everybody in there, as well as in the Alternate Current Radio chat rooms and Discord servers. Great to have you guys with us. And yeah, the big action on Friday. I mean, certainly this was television's greatest hits. Let me bring on to the stage some of our team members here at ACR. We'll bring on Bryan McClain, aka Hesher's, joining us right now, host of the Boiler Room. Bryan, great to have you with us.
Hey, Pat, good to be here. What an explosive week this was.
Yeah, it was. And, we can all admit it was fun to watch. There was a kind of cathartic sigh, a release that Trump and J.D. Vance gave the world by basically mauling and tearing that little annoying little action figure to pieces. And I think it was long overdue. Somebody had to do it, and it had to be them. It wasn't pretty, Hesher, but it happened, and it had to happen at some point. And I'm glad that it was Trump that did the honors, because he probably did it better than anybody else could. So I hope it actually helps to bring this crazy proxy war to a finish, Hesher. It would be a shame if it didn't.
Yeah, me too. It needed to be said, and you just used that active word that you used in your article, cathartic. I was definitely writing the cathartic nature of it last night, because it's just like the public image, the PR machine that has built the sort of normie view of Zelensky has just been so awful. It's been so tedious to sit through and to watch people be swayed by it, and to cheer for this insane war, and to ignore all of the sort of snowball pushing downhill that John McCain and Lindsey Graham and the CIA and the Mossad and the deep state and who knows who else was all involved in making this happen. Still hardly any discussion. It's weird. One of my favorite things about watching this, not only the cathartic nature of just the event itself after all the gaslighting for 3.5 years, but has been watching how sort of mainstream normies are responding to it. It's watching the cope, the mass amounts of copium and the vitriolic responses by people on the left that still are hardwired to just support Ukraine no matter what, has been really, really interesting.
No, it has. Let me bring Ruckus onto the stage as well. Adam Clark, aka Ruckus. Ruckus, what are your thoughts on the spectacular events, the spectacle on Friday?
It was certainly a spectator sport of sorts. There was even, like, I believe he would show up in the camera every once in a while, but there was little Marco Rubio sitting at a desk. And on top of the desk, for some reason, in front of him was like a boxing champion, what looked like at first glance a wrestling, WWF wrestling champion belt. But they had a championship spectator sport belt from boxing just sitting there during this whole match, is what it ultimately felt like. And I don't know. I'm still on the fence. I saw a couple of it, but I guess I missed the very beginning part where the referee came out ahead of time and said, "Let's get it on." But it really did kind of feel like that. In retrospect, watching it a couple times now, I really felt like J.D. Vance kind of started it. Like everything was kind of going diplomatically and kind of well and just kind of usual and semi-boring, and then JD stepped in and kind of turned up the heat, and then like Trump kind of jumped in defense of all of that after Zelensky started spitting his nonsense. I haven't been able to confirm this yet. Maybe you gentlemen have seen this, but I guess he cursed under his breath in a hot mic. Zelensky said some bad words in Ukrainian or in Russian. I can't remember, one of the two. And yeah, apparently just said some not very nice things. And of course, some of the media made it look like he stormed off and just left the White House like, I'm never coming back or whatever. But he ran to go nurse his wounds with Starmer in the UK. I guess that's where he's meeting with him now, who's happy to send troops. From what I understand, the UK is ready to send troops, and we're doing this pullback. But I was mildly hopeful during the thing because for once it made me feel like the whole thing might be real, because I myself have sat in on some of these uncomfortable corporate meeting style events where the boss is not happy. And I gotta say, if that was scripted, it was scripted quite well. But then again, this is the guy who did The Apprentice as far as Trump is concerned. And Zelensky has certainly been, boning up on his acting skills since he moved from comedian to drama actor as president of Ukraine. So I don't know. The whole thing could be an act or it could just be real. But either way, they're getting better at it, Patrick.
No, I think I don't think it was scripted. I think it happened. I think what happened is there's clearly a lot of pent up aggression on the U.S. side against Zelensky, and they're like, basically, we don't know what was said over the phone in the previous weeks, and the Trump administration could have been like, we're just tired of this little clown and the games that they're playing with us. So under Biden, they could do no wrong, get whatever they want, and the U.S. would give them whatever they want, and Ukraine never had to show anything for it. They was just like anything for Zelensky in Ukraine. And so it's probably frustrating for the new administration to be interfacing with, a complete cauldron of corruption. Let's just face it. This is what Kiev has become. And so you could see that what was coming out with Vance was quite aggressive, but he was sharing that frustration. I think that a lot of Americans have, a lot of people around the world have, that have seen this conflict for what it truly is from the beginning, but have been gaslit by this tsunami of constant propaganda that's been raising this actor up as he's some sort of model for democracy. But the part where it actually broke down was when Trump was saying, and we're giving you this, as I said many times, this war would have been over if I was president, would have never have happened. But we gave you a lot of great equipment, and your soldiers have been very brave, but you need people to use that equipment. And that was when Zelensky snapped, because that was Trump's way of saying, you're running out of soldiers, basically. And then he said, but we're giving you great equipment. Quickly back to the equipment. So that's when Zelensky got triggered. So it was, and then things started to deteriorate from there. But I'll bring up the exchange. This is the part where like it started getting rough. So I watched the whole thing, and it's actually interesting to watch it build up from the beginning. But and so I'm going to take this off of Judge Napolitano's YouTube channel. So excuse if there's any pop-up ads, folks. We'll try our best to, deal with those as and when. But this is when things got. Watch Zelensky too, because he is just so, his body language is so indicative of everything on this. But let me see if I can bring this in the frame or not. Here we go.
Talk about Odessa, but a lot of cities have been destroyed. A lot of cities that are not recognizable. There's not a building standing.
No.
And a lot of things.
Mr. President, you have to come and to look. No. We have very good cities. Yes, a lot of things have been destroyed, but mostly cities alive, and people work, and children go to school. Sometimes it's very difficult. Sometimes closer to front line, children have to go to underground schools or online, but we live. Ukraine is fighting and Ukraine lives. This is very important. And maybe it's Putin is sharing this information that he destroyed us. He lost 700,000 people, 700,000 soldiers. He lost everything. Yes. So,
Mr. President, one more.
Can't hear you, man.
So Zelensky's just making stuff up. He's making up facts. He's saying Russia's lost 700,000 men. Ukraine hasn't lost any men. And he goes on to say that Putin's kidnapped 20,000 Ukrainian children and etc. Said that Putin wasn't giving back the prisoners in the prisoner exchanges in 2019. That didn't happen either. So I think he's just been used to basically saying whatever he wants, whenever he wants about anything. And I think JD Vance and others in the Trump administration know some of the facts, but and this frustrates Zelensky because he's not on his home pitch anymore. When Biden was there, he had the home court advantage, even in the White House. Not anymore.
Please go ahead.
When did you last speak with President Putin, and what did he say that?
A couple of days ago.
And what did he tell you that gave you the assurance that he wanted peace?
Well, that's what I do. My whole life is deals. I know pretty good, and I've known him for a long time. I've dealt with him for a long time. He had to suffer through the Russia hoax. Russia was a hoax. It was all Biden. It was nothing to do with him. So he had to suffer through that, and he was able to do that. I think that he wants to make a deal, and he'd like to see it end. That's all I do. That's what I do. My whole life, that's what I do, is make deals. And I'm in the middle of a mess, because this is a real mess. It's a very dangerous one. If this doesn't get solved now, it's not going to get solved for a long time. So I hope we're going to get it solved. In the back, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Prime Minister Starmer claimed repeatedly that his government believes in free speech and was not engaged in censorship. But his country's government arrests people for memes and thought crimes, and even more worrisome is pressuring.
So they're going on about Starmer and stuff there, and Vance comes in a little bit later here.
It affects also, but for the
and then things are sort of here. This is the part where I think Vance
in terms
engages. But I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that, just in general so far?
Trump always manages to make it about himself. I just wanted to point that out real quick. He always brings himself up in analogies.
Obama brought you sheets. I brought you javelins. I love that one. Obama brought you sheets. We brought you javelins. Some great lines in there. I was cracking up. But, overall, I think that Trump is being very clear that what he really wants to see is peace. I don't know if you saw him when he was about to get on Air Force One to head to Florida. I saw the clip from that last night before I crashed out. And, it's funny because the reporters, a lot of them will just keep asking, well, what about this? And what about that? And all these what ifs and, all these ancillary things. And he just sticks to the message. And the message is, I want the bullets to stop. I want to cease fire now. I mean, it was kind of another cathartic moment last night to see the president of the United States sit there and say something that is the primary verse and title to one of our favorite Joseph Arthur songs. I was like, okay, I really appreciated that. It's like, he's like, even if we're going to do a deal, right? Like if we're going to sign a mineral deal and then a subsequent peace deal, why can't we have a ceasefire right now? And, and the reporter asked him, what does Zelensky need to do to be invited back? And he said, he needs to tell me he wants the fighting to stop. That's all he needs to do. And they're like, well, he wants to call and come back right now. And he's like, I'm busy, total in CEO style. It's like, I'm busy. I'm on my way to Florida. But, I think we all know Zelensky's not going to say that. I don't think and I think the Trump team knows now too, that Zelensky's not going to say that. And I think the European leaders know that, for whatever reason, whoever's handling this guy, if someone is indeed still handling, maybe he's just a dog off the chain at this point. I don't know. I would assume that there are battling management teams right now that he's having to deal with in his snowblind haze. So, to me, I'm with Trump on this. We would like to see a ceasefire now. I want to see a ceasefire now everywhere where there's fighting. So, that was my takeaway, and I didn't really walk away with that until after I saw the interview before he boarded Air Force One.
Yeah, here's where Zelensky said we can't have a ceasefire with Putin. We can't change our attitude with the Russians. It was right after a reporter basically trolled him for not wearing a suit. I don't know if you guys caught that part.
Oh yeah, that was Brian Glenn from Real America's Voice. That was also another highlight of it. I know you mentioned it in your write up there. That was like, man, can you imagine being in that room and being like, okay, I got one, maybe two questions. Is it gonna be the one about how you dress? You know, I was impressed that he like used his moment to throw that down in front of the whole world, you know, and the way that he said it, just to paraphrase, was like, you know, some Americans might think it's a little disrespectful to come into, you know, the American White House, you know, in your trainers.
Yeah, this is the costume. And so Zelensky's tried to spin it back and saying that wearing a suit is a costume.
Yeah.
That he's a real man wearing his war outfit. So here's that part.
War, and that would not have been a good situation. What was your second
And
question?
my second question for President Zelensky: why don't you wear a suit? You're at the highest. Why don't you wear a suit? You're at the highest level in this country's office, and you refuse to wear a suit. Just want to see people. Do you own a suit?
Yeah, problems.
A lot of Americans have problems with you not
Really?
respecting
I
the
don't have
dignity of this
such-
office.
I will wear a costume after this war will finish.
Okay.
Yes, maybe one.
Maybe something like this.
something like
Yes,
yours.
sir.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Maybe something better. I don't know. We will see. Maybe something cheaper than. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
President
Thank you.
Trump.
President
Thank you, President Trump. You said yesterday that you have.
Are you going to send more arms to Ukraine in case there's no peace?
Yeah, we're going to have arms to Ukraine. Yeah, sure. Hopefully, I won't have to send very much because hopefully we're going to have it finished. We're looking forward to finishing this quickly. We're not looking forward to sending a lot of arms. We're looking forward to getting the war finished so we can do other things. But we very much appreciate the agreement because we needed what they had, and we're treating, you know, our country is now treated fairly. Biden didn't do that. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. This should have never happened. This should have never started. But, you know, sure, the answer is yes, but hopefully we won't have to send much because I'm looking forward to getting it done quickly. Very.
So basically, that's when Zelensky just felt so violated, I think, after being treated like the little prince for 3 years. And then basically to just be getting trashed by the press, trashed by Trump. Vance was laying into him. I mean, so he must have been seething, Zelensky. It's like, what happened? I had the world in my hands, and all of a sudden I've lost it all. Like, it must have been devastating for him.
Yeah, it's like he showed up to the prom and his date wasn't there or something. I mean, you know, he's been so used to coming here, and I mean, how is everybody squaring this up? I mean, for us and people that, you know, regularly watch what we do, I think, you know, there's sort of you know, a Venn diagram of things that we agree on, you know, for people that are geopolitically literate. But you know, the more people I see respond to it, you know, that I know are, you know, geopolitically illiterate or, you know, just not in it, you know, it's really interesting to watch them try to deal with the cognitive dissonance of this, because what they've seen for the last 3.5 years is just the entire political system, both sides and pretty much all sides of the media, tell them that this is right, this is just, and that, you know, the context is, you know, X, Y, and Z, when really the context is this big giant omnibus, and, you know, not a lot of people have read that omnibus. So it's been really interesting to watch people try to figure this out or to rail against it. Watching people try to rail against it has been interesting. For example, last night, Saturday Night Live they did their cold open on recreating that scene there, and it was just like they can't figure out how to make it funny. It's not funny. They're sitting there trying to frame JD Vance as a homosexual after all their, you know, sort of left-leaning, like, you know, pro woke sort of stance. Now they're you know, sort of almost trying to cast that as some sort of pejorative sexual stance on someone who's the vice president. You know, it's just really weird and creepy. And then the other thing, before I watched it, this might be noteworthy. Before I watched the full meeting, I watched a short clip from CBS. It was like a 5-minute clip, and they were analyzing. They say they were analyzing the blow up in the Oval Office. And I wish I could remember the name of the anchor so I could put them on blast here. But the two CBS anchors, they rolled the interview in the background as B-roll. They did a 5-minute analysis of it, and they did not play one bit of audio from it. They just rolled the video in the background, you know, the finger pointing and the tense looks, but they didn't play any of the audio. And they spent a good couple minutes in there trying to say that, well, they're just, you know, well, Zelensky's first language isn't English, so you could tell he's having a hard time and, you know, maybe not understanding everything that's happening and being said. And like, there's just all this cope being dropped and not a single piece of substance. So for, you know, the American public who just watches things like that, they're like, oh, I hate Donald Trump. And there's video of Donald Trump berating this world leader in the background. And this is awful. You know, it's been just fascinating to me, you guys, to watch all the different responses and analysis to this, especially from, like, you know, the fully skull plugged people.
Yeah. Ruckus, what are your any?
I hope it's not that bad. That's incredibly alarming and ignorant if people are actually watching news where they're not even showing the audio. What took place. That's, I mean, because it was everywhere. That's crazy to me. A lot of argument back and forth going on across all the chats about the business costume comment. Sure, yes, they're both right about the costume thing, but that's not the point. The point is, like, you know, it's more like a Star Trek episode when you go to like the other planet and you're not there to interfere. You're going to follow the customs of the planet when you're meeting with their world leader out of respect. That's all the guy was pointing out. But it was kind of a bit of a low-hanging fruit kind of comment because the guy knew everyone was going to laugh. The atmosphere of these things have certainly changed. So it's a lot more jokey and casual and I don't know. So I don't know. In general, I don't think to ask that question was appropriate at that time, but it's entertainment. You know, it fits in with the XU or the media zeitgeist of the society right now, for sure.
Well, here's where the sparks started flying. I think it's around this point. We'll just have a quick butchers here, and we will play the actual audio, unlike the mainstream media. We will give you context.
I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough, but you're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes. All right, one more question.
I will respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the president of the United States' words mattered more than the president of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact
2015.
2014.
2014 and 2014.
2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
That's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire.
Okay, I have to stop this little. I could use some really bad language right now. He's lying through his freaking teeth. This guy. Ukraine broke the ceasefire. Ukraine was killing civilians in their own country, in Donetsk and Lugansk. That's the reason why there was a Minsk peace process. That's the reason why the UN Security Council, unanimous decision, the US even voted for it. Britain, the US, all the European powers, Russia and China, all unanimously voted for the Minsk peace protocols to be implemented. Zelensky ran on that when he was elected in 2019, and he promised he was going to unite the country, and he did the opposite. Okay, they built up NATO forces to attack people in the Donbass. So this guy is an absolute, I'm more convinced than ever that Zelensky is a total psychopath. He will come in front of cameras, in front of the world, in front of the US president and lie through his freaking teeth. And he's just done it like about half a dozen times already in this press conference. But
he killed our people, and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it.
Have you?
Okay, that's a lie as well. If we just go to here, I think Aaron Mate posted this on X in terms of the the accusation about prisoner exchanges. I think Aaron posted this somewhere on his X feed. So we'll bring this up. So let me see here. Hold on. So basically, yeah. So he said prisoner exchanges. Whatever Zelensky's talking about there, it is absolutely false. There's the facts. And Aaron's saying here are pictures of Zelensky attending December 29th, 2019, a ceremony welcoming the return of Ukrainian prisoners freed under his agreement with Putin, and again in 2020. So this guy is the balls of this guy is unbelievable. He must have been completely off his nut to be able to talk like this. So I mean, you could just go there point by point and basically debunk pretty much everything that Zelensky is saying there. We didn't even get to the part where there's the shouting match, but I mean, guys, it's just there's no limit to what this little guy is capable of. To think that he could be in any negotiations for anything at this point, I just find it impossible to even comprehend that.
No, I mean, clearly it's not going to go anywhere with this guy unless something changes. You know, I don't see. I mean, what? So, okay, here's the other thing I'm curious about you guys' take on. I thought it was interesting that Trump said between the two videos I watched of him talking about this, that one that we're talking about and the one in front of Air Force One, he said a number of times, if they don't take the deal, we're backing out 100% and they can fight it out, you know? And I think that, you know, you mentioned this in the intro, Patrick, like the ultimate danger there is unfortunately kind of what Zelensky said, you know, although I don't think it would quite go the way that he framed it. Because to hear Zelensky say it, he's basically saying, well, if you don't keep supporting us, it's going to come home to haunt you, and you will end up having troops over here because Putin's going to march into the Baltics and he's going to march into Poland. And then at that point, you screwed up and you will feel very bad. And that was kind of where part of the conversation broke down real big, because at that point, Trump was already done. He was already done with it. He knew this wasn't going anywhere. And he knew, like Adam said, he was going to treat him like it was, you know, he was the frustrated boss at the business meeting, and he did. But, you know, and he said, you don't tell us how we're going to feel. Don't, you know, you can't tell us, you know, what if and how we're going to feel. I want to head all this off. But it's like, if America does take that tactic that Trump mentioned several times, do you think, like, is there any chance that could happen? I mean, what do you think the chances are that, like, it would go down in that direction, because I don't see Putin invading Poland or invading the Baltics. You know what I mean? What I would see, the way I would see that happening more likely would be we back out, Europe steps in and keeps funding it, and then there's more shady, dodgy stuff happening, you know, like you were talking about earlier with the drones and missiles firing well into Moscow, and then that turning into something bigger, probably with some false flags to try to hold up, you know, that facade of, you know, dictator Putin just crushing through Europe. But I mean, is there a scenario where when America just backs off and says, fine, you guys deal with it then, where things go not in a World War III direction?
I think you got to be careful that you're not incentivizing bad behavior, like putting U.S. contractors on the ground in Ukraine. You're basically asking Nazis to kill U.S. contractors, or to create a situation where they blame it on Russia to pull America in, because that's what they've done every time there was any kind of move towards any negotiated settlement or drawdown. Immediately you see a drone attack inside Russian territory. So the Ukrainians are kind of out of control with their toys, basically, but they're getting their target information from U.S. satellites. So there is a level of complicity and cooperation between our intelligence services in Britain and the U.S. that are providing Ukraine with the capabilities to do all of this stuff. Even if the politicians are saying, no, that's a red line, the problem is it's not just the politicians. Our deep states are so enmeshed with Ukraine, and these people are not rational. They're facing losing it all. This little cabal in Ukraine that's accumulated so much power and money in the last three years, and you know, even before that, but they don't want this show to end. They've got everything that they want, and as long as they're willing to throw their own people onto the front line, they're safe in Kiev and Lviv and wherever else they are in south of Spain or south of France, or you know, in Switzerland, wherever these oligarchs are hanging back collecting their money, basically U.S. money, European money. It's being funneled out, siphoned out of budgets into their offshore bank accounts. This is what these people are doing. So I mean, I just think there is no good future here. This thing is toast. This thing is toast. It's like surrender terms. Let Russia take care of it. I mean, that's that. But the problem is the Europeans could very well do something that will bait Russia to hit missiles into Poland to basically, you know, level an air base where the attacks are originating from. Because they're talking about, you guys, we need to give them F-16s and Storm Shadow missiles, and then we'll take off from a Polish air base inside NATO territory, move into Ukraine, fire them into Russia, and then fly back. Therefore, it's not, you know, therefore we're safe. I mean, the fact that they're even openly talking about this stuff is so dangerous. And Russia might at some point pull rank and just say, well, fuck you then, you know, like we're going to hit a couple of Kinshal or Resnik hypersonics and just level that airfield. And what are you going to do about it? You're going to declare nuclear war now, or are you just going to stop this nonsense? And I'm telling you, at that point, and Russia might be pushed to that point, but when you get to that point, the rest of Europe or the reasonable people are going to be, whoa, this is not worth, Zelensky is not worth nuclear annihilation. But it has to be pushed to that point to make that realization. This is how screwed up people are. They're in a mass psychosis. And so how do you pull people out of that mass psychosis? Any ideas, Ruckus?
No clue, because yeah, it doesn't look good. I mean, no matter what, somebody somewhere is going to try to continue to provoke Russia. And if that's the ultimate goal, if they just really want somebody to lose their mind and push one of the shiny red buttons and do the damn thing, why don't they just do it? I don't understand what's with all the pussyfooting. Why are we still doing this? There's much bigger something going on. I don't quite understand it. It can't possibly just be, you know, maybe it can be the greed of the military-industrial complex. And then you mentioned the toys. There is a lot of the use of these toys in a real battlefield scenario that's helping them get a lot of the testing complete for the next phase, whatever that might look like. We have people like, what was his name, Palmer Luckey from Anduril getting a big, nice, juicy contract with the military for drones and VR headsets and all sorts of fun stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot of money still involved in war, but if the ultimate goal was to just start shit with Russia, they would make it happen already at this point. So I don't understand what the back and forth is about. Could just be distraction from the other big thing. They're using a lot of these rich algorithm heavy words like ceasefire that normally would show up on your feed talking about a different conflict that, you know, sometimes there's a lot to be said about overblowing some things to keep everybody's focus in one area of the world while they, you know, sneak out the back door with the millions of dead bodies in another place. The continuing conflicts happening in Africa that like nobody's talking about. So, you know, who knows?
Yeah, and by the way, the Israel broke the ceasefire agreement last night. As you say, Ruckus. So they're going to continue. They started killing Palestinians again. So I don't know. Hopefully, it's not to the degree that it was before. But let's go back to this circus real quick and just hopefully, I think the sparks start flying here.
But after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people, and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine? That you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems.
Okay, so JD called out something like really forbidden there. He basically said that they run propaganda tours in Ukraine. This is true. And that's pretty devastating because that's like nobody ever says that out loud because that's like forbidden. And he did that. That tells me something that JD Vance is very observant. He's an intelligent guy. Okay. We'll see how he does as vice president. We'll see how this administration does, quite frankly. But the fact that he called Zelensky out for that, because Zelensky was pulling the logical fallacy that if you haven't been to Ukraine, then you cannot speak about Ukraine, which is just such a ridiculous position. And so I was really happy to see him challenge there. And then Trump basically moves in here for the kill. So Trump's basically like, no, you don't argue with my VP. So Vance is protecting Trump's flank. Trump is backing up Vance, and Zelensky is just getting pounded.
Feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You
God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly
Remember
what
this.
you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very
you will
good.
Feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You play cards.
At this point, that's when I really thought Zelensky's on drugs. You guys, the way he's reacting, and he's completely out of it. Now he could be on prescription medication. He could be on, Sean Penn, marching powder or whatnot. So we don't know exactly what Zelensky's on. But I did a highlight reel for you guys, which you hopefully will find amusing. Hopefully this one works. But let's just take a look at some of the telltale signs that Zelensky may have been under the influence of something. Take a look.
And we want to see the money get put to different kinds of use, like the rebuilding. And we're going to be working very hard, but we've had a lot of, we want to get it over with. So It's an honor to have you here. Thank you very much for coming. We're going to sign the agreement at the conference in the East Room in a little while, right after lunch. And we'll be having lunch together. We're also discussing some other things. And we appreciate everybody being here. It's somewhat of an exciting moment, but the really exciting moment is when we when they stop the shooting and we end up with a deal. And I think we're fairly close to getting that. And honor to get from the raw earth that we're going to be taking and sharing in terms of revenue. So it's going to be a lot of money will be made from the sale and from the use of raw earth. And as you know, our country doesn't have much raw earth. We have a lot of oil.
Mr. President Trump, you have repeatedly called the deal with Ukraine as a historical one. And as a president of the United States, you make historical decisions in other issues which affect America and other world. So what place in the world history do you want to take? And do you associate yourself with any famous historical figures?
Yeah, I'd say George Washington, Abraham Lincoln.
Thank you, President Trump. You said yesterday that you have...
Are you going to send more arms to Ukraine in case there's no peace?
Yeah, we're going to have arms to Ukraine, yeah, sure. Hopefully I won't have to send very much because hopefully we're going to have it finished. We're looking forward to finishing this quickly. We're not looking forward to sending a lot of arms. We're looking forward to getting the war finished so we can do other things.
Russia and Ukraine, or on the Ukraine's?
No, I'm in the middle. I want to solve this thing. I'm for both. I want to get it solved. And it's wonderful to speak badly about somebody else, but I want to get it solved. If we can solve it, great. If we can't solve it, they're going to have to fight it out, and who knows what's going to happen. But I want to see it get solved.
May I follow up? One more question about U.S. troops in Europe. After Russian invasion of Ukraine, your predecessor sent additional troops to Eastern Europe, including Poland, my country.
Yeah.
Are you committed to keeping these troops on the eastern flank of NATO in the future?
I'm very committed to Poland.
So I think he was off his trolley, you guys. I mean, that was just like a little bit too. Like I could have put in a lot more on that, but that's just, I mean, what do you think?
A lot of telltale signs there, especially with the zoom in like that. Very fidgety, unable to keep focus, you know, just twitchy. I don't know. I mean, it's a nuanced perspective, but I think there's a pretty good chance of it. And it's not like we're just spitballing here. There's records of people saying, you know, people in the know saying that, yeah, that's this guy's bump of choice, if you will.
Yeah.
It's nothing like the lady from Canada, Freeland, Christy Freeland.
Christy Freeland. Yeah, that's just, she's mental, basically. I mean, probably prescription. But
the part where he was looking up, though, at the ceiling, I was like, oh, whatever it is, it's the same stuff that Elon Musk has got. Maybe they got together or something.
Could be. This is special elite cadre of people. But yeah, here's the final bit of the hot part of this exchange.
I'm very serious.
You're gambling
I'm
with the
president
lives of
anymore.
millions of people.
You think
You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's back to you far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once? This
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not
Yeah.
speaking loudly. Your country's
Can I-
in big
can I-
trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No,
Can
you've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking.
In Gaza's camps, the
Guys, Zelensky is off his trolley. Clearly. I mean, he is just totally out of it. I mean, who would behave like that? That's like zero situational awareness. He's like, doesn't know where he is, who he's with, who's watching, and he's interrupting Trump. I mean, I don't know Trump. I've never spent time with Trump, but I know if I'm sitting in a room with Trump, I don't interrupt him. He talks, and especially if it's in the White House, you are literally there as an ornament, and you will speak after spoken to. Period. End of story. I don't care who it is. There's nobody on the planet that could violate that rule. And this little 5'4", pint-sized action figure comes in there and does exactly that, and way worse, interrupting him constantly, telling, "Oh no, you can't talk like that. You're wrong. No." And he's like, I'm like, this is a nightmare. His aides, he came with a huge entourage. He came with a bus full of people, right? And they were literally in tears. You could see one of his main chief aide is a woman who travels with him everywhere, and she was like this the whole time. She was like, fuck, watching her world flash before her eyes. I mean, this guy, he must have been like flying on like Sean Penn special, Cartagena special. I mean, it's the only explanation. So yeah,
it's snowblind, off the rails on a crazy train, and it's like I'm not surprised at anything he said. I expect him to come there with his hand out, asking for more money, asking for more guarantees, asking for F-16s, asking for Javelin, yes, buckets of cash. Sure. I mean, this has worked for him every time he's came here. But at this point, like, to come here
and we want to see the money get.
Read the room. That's all right. Read the room, dude. It's like, the new administration is in, and the new administration has pulled the majority of the MAGA contingent off of Ukraine support, which is sort of hilarious because a bunch of those people, maybe a majority of those people, were on the train of Ukraine support until recently. So it just goes to show how they follow the bouncing ball of the MAGA Overton window, right? Like, where were you guys 2 years ago? Oh, you were taking a knee. You had flags on your, you had yellow and blue flags on your social media. But now it's okay to look at it with a critical eye. And he failed to realize that when he stepped into that room, or he was too blasted out of his brain to hold his rounds. He should have saved. If he wanted to do that, Zelensky, I'm talking to you directly right now. If you wanted to come to the United States and continue to push for this absurdity, you probably shouldn't have done it on camera in the Oval Office in front of the world. You could have gone to lunch. You could have sat there and nod, smiled, and agree, then gone to lunch, had a wonderful lunch, I'm guessing, and then gone to the East Wing, and then spit all this crazy garbage. Then maybe you could have had a business deal, and then maybe your little ego wouldn't have been hurt, and people wouldn't be making memes of you as like a mini me sitting in the chair right there. So, and I don't think that this was a setup at all. I think that Trump and Vance just realized that this guy's not going to negotiate. He's still sitting here using CIA talking points that are 3 years old now and are have dried up. They're no longer good. They're no longer viable talking points to the MAGA contingent.
Yeah. Ruckus, anything to add there?
Maybe he's just completely AWOL. He's just doing his own thing. Like he's completely off the script, off the beaten path. It's like somebody where did he go? Wait, he's in America doing what? How did this happen? So who knows? It will be very interesting. Maybe the whole thing ultimately just means that he's going to go away soon. That's what I'm guessing.
I mean, you have to have a level of complete moral, a total moral ineptitude to want to have your country, who's poor, weak, and to just continue having your own people slaughtered and losing territory to make a point, or to kind of keep the gag going, or something like that. I mean, this he's got a serious problem, this guy. And so he doesn't have any of this, well, this might not be the right thing to do. He's not having that internal dialogue. He is just basically on the biggest trip of his life. And it's been huge. I mean, he's been elevated as the global hero figure, as a superhero for the world. So if that doesn't go to your head, if you're a little Scarface, especially, that doesn't go to your head, nothing will. I mean, so his head must be full of this stuff. How could you come back down to earth after that? How could you do? I can't see it. I can't see it. I mean, I can't, unless this guy finds Jesus somehow, you know, in the next 6 months or a year or something, and has some major like epiphany and starts spilling the beans and saying what a mistake it was and apologizing, and then I don't know, you know.
Man, he's an actor. Let's not forget, this guy is an actor, and he's now the highest paid actor in the world. He's made more money than Sean Penn and all these other people. You know what I mean? Like, and he's got rock star status, political rock star status, at least in his own head. And you know, if he really is, you know, on the sauce, you know, there's no coming down from that without intense rehab. You know, I mean, if he is a drug addict, that drug addiction in and of itself is going to make it such that he is someone that you can't do a deal with. He is someone you're not going to be able to stop this madness with, because he lives on a madness train, and he thinks, you know, clearly he must think very highly of himself, because he has redefined democracy. Because he sat there and talked about, you know, oh, protect democracy. You know, he used that talking point too, and it's like, well, we're sitting here looking at a guy who has overstayed his mandate. He's not an elected official anymore. He's closed down the churches, the Orthodox churches. He's jailed, harassed, tortured, and murdered journalists. He's attacked his own people. You know, I mean, come on, man. You can't. I just don't see any deal being made with this guy, especially after that display, and considering, you know, this potential that maybe he's just off his freaking rocker, and someone off their rocker like that, who also has influences in their life, you know, whatever those may be, that's someone that's really easy to influence. So it's a dangerous situation, because we don't know who exactly is whispering in his ear and what they're whispering in his ear. That might be what was behind, you know, the way that he behaved.
Yeah, I know. It's one can only guess. So he made it worse. He went on Brent Baer's special report on Fox News afterwards, and basically looked like a complete buffoon, and couldn't string any sentences together. Clearly was in need of a top up, wasn't able to get it apparently in the interim. His dealer hadn't arrived yet. I mean, we're being cruel and facetious here, folks, but I mean, how else can you explain this train wreck? So here he is, and this is one of the key points. And Brett Baer keeps pushing him. You know, are you going to apologize to Trump? Brett Baer asked him twice. Are you going to say? Would you apologize to the president? And Zelensky dodged it twice in like the first 5 minutes. And you could see Brett Baer is just giving up at that point. But here's the key part of that I think partially gives the game away for this. And this is what people should be picking up on.
To understand how to stop the war.
Right. But do you think the public spat in the Oval Office in front of the media served Ukrainians well today?
I think this kind of spat is I mean, this this is not good for both sides anyway. And I very open, but I can't, you know, change our Ukrainian attitude to Russian. And I don't want they kill us for us. You know, this is very, very clear that Americans are the best of our friends, Europeans are the best of our friends, and Putin with Russian, their enemies. And it doesn't mean that we don't want peace. We just want to recognize the reality, the real situation.
President Trump is...
Okay, so he's saying we need to recognize the reality. Okay, let's talk about the reality for a moment. The reality is, I'll bring the reality on screen. And here's the reality, okay? The reality is Ukraine is divided, okay? This is by language in red, the Russian-speaking areas. And then you have the orange and the yellow areas, different languages there. So, and then here's interesting. This is the 2010 presidential elections. Viktor Yanukovych, more leaning towards Russia. That's the red areas. That's what Russia almost currently has, except for Odessa in the bottom southwest area there by Moldova and Romania. Okay. So, and the rest is voted for Yulia Tymoshenko. Okay. This is the corrupt oligarch, the gas queen. So that's the reality, folks, is that the country is divided along linguistic and some would say ethnic lines. And the U.S. backed regime change in 2014 to drive a wedge right down that line and to get the blue to declare war against the red. That's what Victoria Nuland did. Okay. And so that's when Zelensky wants to talk about reality, that's the reality. That is the reality. And if that's not enough, if people aren't convinced, we'll bring up the clip of the phone call between. So Zelensky says that we will decide. Ukrainians will decide what our elections are going to say. He's saying we will decide. We're a democracy. We're sovereign. We will decide. What our future is. And so this is a clip from Ukraine on Fire.
In early February of 2014, as the Maidan crisis was getting more violent, there was a phone call that was intercepted. It was a call between the Assistant Secretary of State for European Affairs, Victoria Nuland, and the U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Jeffrey Pyatt.
Questions of credibility are being raised after a private chat between two top U.S. diplomats was leaked online.
I think Yats is the guy who's got the economic experience, the governing experience. He's the guy, what he needs is Cleach and Tony Book on the outside. I just think Cleach going in, he's going to be at that level working for Yatsenyuk. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Okay. Good. Well, do you want us to try to set up a call with him as the next step?
Sullivan's come back to me, VFR, saying you need Biden, and I said probably tomorrow for an attaboy and to get the deets to stick. So okay. Biden's willing.
So you had this remarkable phone call where you have these two senior officials of the U.S. government apparently talking about a coup or how they were planning to restructure the government of Ukraine.
Fuck the EU.
No, exactly.
I'm not saying the whole U.S. government feels that way. There is division on this, but the neoconservative element wants very much to change the strategic dynamic in Eastern Europe.
This idea that Ukraine's sovereign, only Ukraine decides who their leaders are, who wins elections. I mean, not really. The United States has decided in the past, and suddenly Zelensky's lecturing, saying that no one can tell us when to have elections. We decide. I'm now president for life. He was out of mandate last May. So the reason the Russians aren't going to, this is why Trump is frustrated. The Russians said they're not coming to the table until they have elections because they don't regard Zelensky as the legitimate president. So there's no negotiations, no deals. So Zelensky's the problem. And he's walking into the White House like he is, King Canute or Little Lord Fauntleroy, and dictating, this is the way it is. You don't know. You're not in Ukraine. What do you guys know? Bunch of ignorant Americans. And the Europeans are paying a lot. You're not paying so much. I mean, it's a disaster. And I think people are seeing through. His facade has just collapsed, basically.
Is he saying Dan Crenshaw knows? Is he saying Nancy Pelosi knows? Is he saying Sean Penn knows? Like all these people that went there. And oh, by the way, another big mistake on your part there, Zelensky. I guess you weren't paying attention to the way that the Trump administration has gone after our NGOs right here, especially USAID. Because that's what they gave us, financial aids. But anyways, a lot of those trips the funding for those trips were laundered through USAID and various NGOs. So, again, here he comes with a stale talking point that is so far outside the new normie MAGA Overton window that he just wings that out there like, oh, you can't speak about it because that fallacy you're talking about, you can't speak about it. You haven't been there. What are you going to see when you go there? We already know what you're going to see when you go there. If you go to Kiev and you're just unleashed in the city, you're going to see a normal city. Everything's going to be pretty much just fine. There'll be people going out to nightclubs and concerts and going to work and all that stuff. But if you go there on one of these little junkets funded by our own government through an NGO, you're going to get a special segmented part of town somewhere that is similar to like what we have here at in California. We've got the Hollywood Disneyland thing, Universal Studios. It's kind of like Universal Studios. You go there and there's fake air raid sirens and rubble and stuff like that, and then you can get your photo op, and you're basically like, you know what I mean? It's like going to kiss the wall or something. It's ceremonial and it's propagandistic, and people know it.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice Lindsey Graham's complete 180 on this whole thing too? I mean, this is a bad sign. I mean, come on, Zelensky, if this doesn't tell you it's over, buddy, I don't know what else does. But did you see that? He did like a little bit of a Monday morning quarterbacking post-fight analysis, standing in front of all the reporters. Lindsey Graham, mind you, expressing how happy he is that we told Zelensky what's what and how this Ukraine fight is garbage and fake. I mean, is this the same guy? Wasn't he the one who actually like personally thanked Zelensky, right, for like, you're doing the killing and the fighting for us, right? Am I correct, Patrick? Didn't he say that?
Yeah, that's the same guy.
Yeah. Oh, he's completely changed his mind now.
Oh no, yeah, he was so he actually, I've got that clip of Graham, but yeah, that was that shows you what an absolute like war prostitute Lindsey Graham is. That he's blowing smoke up Zelensky's behind just shamelessly, and then suddenly after this he's basically saying he's calling for Zelensky to resign publicly. So I mean, that's just it just shows you how crazy it all is. So Lindsey Graham is also looking like a complete fool. I'd have respect for Lindsey Graham if he said, no, Trump you shouldn't do this. He's putting Zelensky at risk. Even though I disagree with Graham, I'd respect him more if he was true to his position. The fact that he flip-flops shows you what a spineless politician he actually is. That this guy he's been pumping up as the world savior, and basically saying that, oh, you guys are fighting bravely for us. You're fighting bravely for us. And it's not costing us one man. He's doing all the fighting for us. This little man over here, we need to give him everything we possibly can. So he keep on fighting. He's feisty little man here. I mean, and then he just chucks him under the bus after that. I mean, so Graham is a swamp creature of the highest order or the lowest order, depending on how you view the caste system and the detritus.
And he had a hand in setting this all up. Him and John McCain were going there back in 2013 and 2014 and emboldening all this and setting the stage for it and convincing elements of their military there that they were going to have American backing, ad infinitum. And I didn't see him turn around on that. Like, if you're going to turn around on this, Lindsey, you might want to go back to 2013, 2014, 2015 and say, I took these trips over there. Here, roll the video on B-roll of me standing there with these Azov guys, telling them what a great job they're going to do and how they're going to have our support. Like, why not roll it back that far and then, flip on that and say, my bad, sorry, I was wrong. Something like that. But no, what he's displaying is that he is an absolute puppet, a tool, probably with an intel agency glove up his keister, dancing to whatever tune they have. And right now, again, because of that Overton window shift in MAGA right now, old talking points, dude, old stuff. And people are digging up what happened 9, 10, 11 years ago now.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys. Anyway, I don't know. I'm not sure if Basil Valentine was trying to come on stage or not. I don't know if I saw him or if that was just Zelensky in one of the other windows I had open or not. Did you guys see Basil at all?
No, I'm on full screen mode. I can't see him.
Okay, I saw a head pop up there, and it must have been Zelensky's head. So it's like, that's okay. But you know, I had that Graham clip. It's just so, it's so shameless. I will try to actually find that. Let me just go and do a butcher's real quick. But yeah, you guys. I mean, this is just the ultimate, really. This is the ultimate. And again, it's the magic of Trump. Do you remember the magic of Trump? It was just like, even if he doesn't intend to, Trump somehow wades into the situation, smashes, breaks the china, you know, trips over a chair, and reveals the truth. Reveals the truth.
He
Go
did
ahead.
say he was going to make great television after the whole thing. He's
Yeah.
like, he immediately recognized. He's like, wow. He's probably doing the mental calculations. The ratings on this one, wowie.
He was right, because today is probably the third time I think all three of us have watched much of that.
Yeah, no, it's incredible, you guys. I mean, and there's other kind of, there's so many LARPs on some of the other networks, like I think it's hold on for a minute. Let me just let me try to get this clip up on stage here. But yeah, Lindsey Graham came on to Brett Baier, and yeah, and it's just, I mean, this is so cringeworthy. I don't even know what to say about this, but yeah, he came up on Brett Baier. Let me bring that clip up on stage. But I'm just going to switch. But it just showed that the performative nature of Lindsey Graham, how shameless this guy is. And he's just coming up there with that dodgy haircut, just the slimiest Southern eel out of the South Carolina swamp. And we'll bring him on stage here. This is Zelensky again, continuing that suicide live on U.S. television on Fox News. Let me see if we can bring this up.
NATO countries been under attacks.
Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican from South Carolina, he has been a big proponent of you and of Ukraine, said this today after the meeting.
I have never been more proud of the president. I was very proud of J.D. Vance standing up for our country. We want to be helpful. What I saw in the Oval Office was disrespectful, and I don't know if we can ever do business with Zelensky again. He either needs to resign and send somebody over that we can do business with, or he needs to change.
So he says you need to consider resigning. Is that on the table?
I don't know if he will be happy after my words. This decision can do only people of Ukraine.
You're not going to step down to do a peace deal.
No, I was always ready. I'm not sure that is a good idea for I mean this such proposals. But anyway, I always said if United States will support NATO, so I think that it's enough for Ukraine. So I think I did all I had to do. And if somebody is not, I mean, this happy with me, okay. But between us, yes.
Okay, I think the final point here, guys, is this is what happens when you take a second-rate comedian and you put him in charge of your freaking country. A drug addict, a clown, and you put him in charge of the most dangerous geopolitical hot zone in the world. This is what you freaking get. It is a total disaster on every conceivable level, not just for Ukraine, but for the world. For the world. Whose idea was this? I would like to know. I would like to have a Senate inquiry, congressional inquiry, declassify those documents, Pam Bondi. Please, declassify the Ukraine files. I want to know whose idea was it to put Zelensky, to install him as president after putting him into a television sitcom about him becoming president, and then making him run for president and naming his political party the name of the frickin' sitcom. That's what I want to know. What is the CIA involvement in this train wreck? Declassify those documents, okay? If there's going to be anything, but of course, you guys, we know that's not going to happen. Speaking of declassified documents, it's good. This is a good time for a hard pivot. The Epstein files. Were you guys excited as I was about the Epstein files? And did you see all the conservative influencers outside the White House? DC Drano. Did you see who was hiding in the background? Mike Cernovich. Mike Cernovich, who worked for Alan Dershowitz law firm. Is that not a conflict of interest? Wasn't Alan Dershowitz on the Lolita Express getting a massage?
Well, you're just never going to get a binder now, Pat. You just stepped in it. Once you throw the Dersh under the bus, like all of us have, we're not going to be the influencer that gets the binders. Yeah, that was my take on that was we were as excited as you were about those file releases if the amount of excitement you had was zero. That's about how excited the boiler room was about the Epstein release. At this point, I'm so sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of it. I'm not interested in the names of the Johns. I'm not interested in the people on the flight logs. I'm not interested in a laminated hardback binder trapper keeper that has, whatever pages that we've already seen and have already been out there. I'm not interested in waiting for redactions to take place. I have find and replace. It's this great technology. I could get the victims' names off these things in probably 5 minutes with a quick find and replace. It would be very simple. Shit, I could probably even have Grok or an AI go through, just give them the list of names and say, black these out, please. You know what I mean? Absolutely ridiculous. But I think that the binder assignments was sort of ceremonial and transactional in nature. That's sort of the way I'm looking at this. It's ceremonial in the sense that it's kind of a message to legacy media consumers and legacy media outlets that guess what? You're not the top dog anymore. That's another part of this Overton window shove is it's now mainstream to rag on the legacy media and to parade Trump loyalist influencers around with a snacky poo, with a gold star, right? So Liz Wheeler, DC Drano, these people. Cernovich is an interesting case. That one debatable in some different ways, but you know what I mean? I was really upset at first because I thought those were the only people that were getting it. And that took me back to, Uvalde and so many other cases where when new information is presented to the press, it is hand selected and curated and given to one outlet or one person. There was I think it was ABC or CBS here in Austin or San Antonio, I can't remember which, that got the Uvalde footage, and then everybody else in the mass media had to use what they were given, and it was curated. The audio was removed. It was all, sketchy. So I thought that was what was going on, but they were just laundering it through this dozen set of Trump loyalist social media influencers. But I'll give Bondi credit. She did post all that same information on the DOJ website. So it's not like it wasn't available to everybody to analyze. But, when we looked at what it was, there was really nothing to analyze. And we're just, sitting waiting for phase 2 and phase 3 and phase however many there are. And then, people can look at it in total and see if there's actually anything new there. But I think I probably speak for myself and Adam and Infidel Pharaoh, who were on the Boiler Room this week. We're most interested in the network that facilitated these activities. And if that's not going to be included, and if every time Israel is mentioned, it's going to be redacted, we have zero interest in this entire disclosure.
Yeah. Ruckus, any thoughts?
Well, I mean, wasn't it what you just described, Hesher, nothing new? Isn't that exactly how they did the Twitter files? There was one or two appointed journalists who had their hands on all of the goods, and they were the only ones, and we had to rely on their reporting. So nothing has changed. Patrick just flashed the "You Are the Media" symbol there, the picture. That's what it's about. I mean, they literally did like a little, like, it was a ceremony. It was like they all got little spell books, the little white binders, right in front of everybody. It was very much a spell that was cast on everyone. It was a changing of the guard in all symbolic measurements by the gatekeepers. They are now, that's what instead of "You Are the Media," it should say "You Are the Gatekeepers" now. So, but yeah, of what? A giant nothing burger? I saw allegedly, all of these screenshots and videos of people flipping through one of the binders. At least it's literally nothing but black bars. I mean, so what was the damn point of this? And then Patrick, Brian Dawson, who's joined your X Spaces quite frequently, has a list. He keeps putting it out there all the time. These are the names you're going to see in there. You don't have to wait if you're really that interested in seeing the names. But what does it mean at the end of the day? They could put out a list of everyone who's ever attended Epstein Island, and then everyone moves on. Nobody's going to go to jail. Like, what the hell? It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan is, I'll bring this up on stage. I mean, have you guys seen this? This is just talking about Nick Bryan's article in 2012 that had all the black book and the flight logs, but it wasn't they weren't redacted. I mean, this stuff's available online, you guys. Like, you can get the non-redacted version online, but the FBI is handing out a redacted version of the same stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a loss for words here at this point. I think it's almost irredeemable. Anybody?
They pulled, people watched it. There's footage of it. They pulled over 30 boxes of material out of one of his houses. I forget if it was the Miami one or if it was on the island or what, but you can watch them pull, many agents pull many boxes, dozens of boxes out for evidence. Now, of course, in this and the mass media will tell you, well, not everyone that was on the flight committed a crime, and not all of the things that were pulled out were evidence that's, relevant. But I mean, come on, at this point, like, if you're hoping for a bombshell in here, there might be one, but it's going to be a curated one. It's going to be an attaboy, it's going to be a here you go. Here's the reveal, and we've got some naughty people here. Here's the reveal. So I think that's pretty much where we're at. And so it was ceremonial about the media and the message to the media. And it was transactional in the sense that they handed, Drano and the rest of that cadre of Trump loyalist influencers, they handed them a mainstream audience, because a chunk of mainstream audience that only watches mass media junk now is aware of those people. So I guarantee you they all got thousands of followers, new followers after that happened. So ceremonial to the media, transactional to the loyalists. That's kind of how I'm framing what we saw as far as the binders.
And they sacrificed the AP, so there was an actual virginal sacrifice of sorts. AP is out; they're not allowed to go into the press. They're not part of the press gang.
I think this is wrong, and so Elon Musk was saying Associated Press, fake news, and all this. The majority of the news that Reuters and AP put out is 100% factual. The overwhelming majority, I would say 98, probably 95%, is factual. There is the general fake news that every mainstream media reports that is not factual, that is bias. Okay, that's ABC, CBS, AP, AFP, Reuters, the BBC, CNN, MSNBC, the Los Angeles Times, the Washington Post, the New York Times. So they all, when it comes to war and when it comes to black ops, mass shootings, general political narratives, hoaxes like Russiagate, they all basically sing the exact same hymn. So why ban AP that actually performs, like they take official statements and that's the record? So those are what we call papers of record. And Joe Rogan is not going to be there at the press conference taking notes of official statements. He's not going to post that on his website. Hold on, what did Joe Biden actually say? Wait a minute, let's go to Joe Rogan's website. I'm sure he sent somebody to do transcription of that important treaty, right, Joe? Joe's like, yeah, man, there's so many things going on. It's wild. It's fucking wild. Think about it, man. What the media do. It's like, it's wild. Yeah. And Sean Ryan's like, yeah. Wow. Yeah. Fuck. So Elon's not going to do Elon. They are not DC Drano, Laura Loomer are not going to do that job for the world. Okay. They are not papers of record. They're not going to report on insurance scams. They're not going to talk about Veterans Affairs and all of the hundreds and thousands of other stories that the mainstream media actually cover that do have value. So you guys know me, I'm the biggest critic of mainstream media propaganda, as big of a critic as anybody, okay? But I do see the value of those agencies. So to ban them from the White House is really dumb. I think that was an Elon Musk idea. I have a feeling.
Maybe I misunderstood, but I got the impression that AP was banned from traveling on. There's some extra privileges like being invited to travel aboard Air Force One and access to like the Oval Office or something like that. It was my understanding that was what they got banned from. So they should still be part of the White House press corps and available for those things, although they may not be sitting up front anymore. I'm guessing, it's a pretty strong message to send, because that's quite the snacky poo to take away there. If you're with AP and you're used to being on, Air Force One, and all of your colleagues leading up to you have been also, and now all of a sudden it's gone. I mean, that is probably kind of a big deal, but I don't know, maybe it is a little wider than I thought. I'm not sure.
I think you're right. And I think the news I was just reading before I came on today was that they were cut out from Trump is golfing at Mar-a-Lago, and the AP showed up to cover it, and they're like, oh no, you're not allowed to be here, remember? And I guess the story goes that AP showed up with like cookies or snacks for all of their fellow traveling media who did get to go walk around and watch the president golf. They're so sad. They're so jealous right now. They're crying.
So I don't know. Let me see. I mean, that was the main action this week. So
I got one more. I want to throw this out just on behalf of Texas. I think Dan Crenshaw has officially ended his political career. That's fantastic news. Tucker Carlson's been going after him for a few years because of his ridiculous war hawking stances and, blue shrouded in red sort of political stuff. He's made some pretty cutting remarks about him, but all factual things. And Crenshaw got caught on a hidden camera, a hot mic, saying basically that he would do violence to Tucker Carlson if you met him in a dark alley. And the MAGA sphere has completely turned on Eye Patch McCain, as Tucker has named him. And I don't know if you've ever seen any of his campaign materials, his ads that he does. They are ridiculous. It looks like an episode of like a G.I. Joe cartoon or something like that. He really leans into the LARPing, into his veteran status and all that stuff. But this guy is one of the most rank politicians. It's funny how some of the most rank politicians that we have are from red states. Look at Wisconsin, look at Louisiana, look at Texas. The senators in particular, some of them are some of the most insane, war hawkish, like fickle sort of rhinos that you could imagine. So I would say that was a big win. Crenshaw pretty much made his bed and is now laying in it with the MAGA crowd.
Yeah, it couldn't happen to a better guy. We'll bring him up on stage. There he is, Eye Patch McCain. And normally I wouldn't make fun of somebody wearing an eye patch, but the fact that he hams it up and has tried to like incorporate it into his political celebrity brand is just kind of stupid. I think the problem isn't the patch. I think that it doesn't matter, the patch. It's the fact that he's a total dweeb, this guy. That's the problem. You know, it's nothing to do with the patch. I couldn't care less about the patch, but the fact that I don't know. It's just he is a World Economic Forum young leader, right?
Yep.
Conservative.
He looks like he could be JD Vance's brother or something.
Don't you start on the vice president, Ruckus.
He's the Walmart JD Vance. Good luck.
So Crenshaw is 40 years old. I mean, he's an absolute neoliberal warmonger, this guy. So he reeks of a bleeding heart Democrat who is basically LARPing as a Republican so he could get elected in a Texas district. I mean, how far off am I here? Is he down in Houston? Is that where he is?
I believe so. Yeah, he's near that border. He, and just had nothing to say while it was, wide open in his own state for, a good 4 years there.
Crenshaw is the worst. And he's such a war hawk as well. I mean, you'd think, did he sustain his eye injury in combat? Is that the story? Does anybody know?
Oh, it was in my head at one point years ago, but I've expunged it. I can't remember.
Let's just say for argument's sake,
in Afghanistan.
Is that what it was? Okay, let's just say for argument's sake that was the cause. So you'd think that of all people, Dan Crenshaw would know the horrors of war enough to know that we need to bring this circus to an end in Ukraine so that more men don't need to be mortally wounded, fatally wounded, legs amputated, or dead by the hundreds of thousands. Okay, you think this guy of all people would appreciate that, but unfortunately he has other ideas. And I've never seen anybody that is such an enthusiastic cheerleader for US F-35s bombing civilians in Gaza. There's just nobody in Congress that's so excited about the genocide in Gaza as Dan Crenshaw. So like, where is the morality in this guy? He is honestly, there's a screw missing. He's not operating with a normal type of moral constitution that most people have. But he's not alone. He is quite typical, isn't he, for Washington? And again, this is my whole thing. All these people have set themselves up as conservatives just because they look a certain way, because they served in the military, because they're in a Texas district. Okay, most of Houston is blue. It's Democrat. So I can see how he appeals to the crossover voter in Texas is probably what got him elected. The fact that he is a neoliberal war hawk and a Russia-phobe. So, I mean, that was the other thing, you guys, that I thought Trump did, which shocked me. Okay, and Trump doesn't often shock, but he did shock me. He basically said, he was basically taking Putin's side in Russiagate. He's saying they blamed him for rigging our election, Russiagate hoax, and he took all that humiliation of the world and he fought through it. So Trump respects Putin for basically keeping a stoic, stiff upper lip during the whole Russiagate thing, not losing his rag, while everyone in America was going hysterical about a hoax. And accusing Trump of being a Russian agent, which is patently stupid. Although it's so stupid, half Congress still believe it, and Bernie Sanders. So it's that stupid. But he's almost like giving Putin the nod, like Trump's like, he's an alpha. I respect this guy. He's in charge of a formidable world power, and he kept his act together while we were all going nuts. And so to do that in front of Zelensky, that must have hurt Zelensky deeply. That really, really hurt Zelensky. The fact that Trump respects Putin, it's like, ooh. So that's one of the things I picked up from that discussion that really stuck out at me.
Yeah, and then one of the reporters or someone tried to pin him down with the usual, well, whose side are you on? And his response was essentially, I just want the killing to stop. I'm on the side of peace. I want to make a deal here, you know? So it's just like those media assets just keep trying to drag us back to the original talking points, annexation of Crimea, you know, this kind of stuff, invasion with no reason, you know, all that kind of stuff. And that all has to fall apart with a lot of the points that were made in that room there. So it's a big blow. And it's, again, just really interesting to see people respond to this who still haven't accepted that Russiagate was, in fact, a hoax.
Yeah. Yeah. Final thoughts, Adam. Go ahead.
Russia. I think we're done hearing about Russia. Ultimately, at least that's going to be going away for a while. It's going to be very interesting to see where all this goes. I mean, Zelensky seems quite not so worried about it because he's got, you know, UK still fully on board. So, you know, as we've been discussing here today, it's like, if America gets out of it, so what? Doesn't the plan still move forward? The ultimate question is now, is something going to happen that's going to drag us back in, as you mentioned at the beginning of the program, Patrick? So that's the moving ball we got to keep an eye on right now, I guess.
Well, I'll bring this just quickly to remind people back up on stage. Good article here written by this Patrick bloke. It's up at 21st Century Wire there. Donnybrook on Pennsylvania Avenue. Does anybody know what a Donnybrook is? Raise your hand.
I'll be honest and say I had to look it up, Pat. Based on a book and a movie, I guess.
Yeah, it's a bar fight, basically.
Okay.
Or a pub fight in Irish, or let's say a fisticuff outside of a pub.
Okay.
Is a Donnybrook. It's typical Irish name. It doesn't fit anywhere in the English lexicon at all. Yeah, Ruckus is flashing up some looks like a dodgy boxing referee or something there. Yeah.
Celebrity death match, maybe.
One of those guys. Yeah. So anyway, 21st Century Wire, and also, guys, we had an epic week. I don't know if you guys managed to catch it or not, but if you scroll through the features section here, you'll see this one pinned at the top, exclusive. Nord Stream revelation, submarines in the NATO lake, and our friend Freddie Ponton has put together one of the most epic reports here about Nord Stream. And this is a really outstanding piece of journalism, folks. And I do not say that lightly. Of all the reports that we've ever published on our website since 2009, this ranks among the most badass investigative pieces that we've ever published. And that is Freddie's research on this for a year and a half. This is just one small piece of the story, obviously, but it's basically unlocks a whole bunch of stuff. And one of the big surprises in here, which I thought was pretty unbelievable, but like a major stroke of luck. Get this, guys. And if you saw the midweek wire where I interviewed Freddie, if anybody missed that on the midweek wire, that's up on our YouTube channels. And also I think it's up on our website as well. And I'll bring that interview up on screen just so people know. It's right here, folks. This is up on our website. You want to watch this interview and read this Nord Stream article. The article is linked here from that interview, so you can catch that. Hold on, let me bring that up on stage. 1 second. Yeah, there it is. That's the interview with Freddie. Nord Stream evidence, new evidence with Freddie Ponton. That's a 2-hour interview that breaks down a lot of the important parts of this article. But this is one of the things that it broke down. Now, you guys nailing NATO down is not easy because not everything's public. A lot of stuff is classified that many believe, including Seymour Hersh, that the Nord Stream sabotage took place during Baltops 22. That's when they prepped the pipelines and they detonated them during Northern Coast's 2022 drill in the same place in September. Okay, so the pipelines were prepped in June and then blown up in September. So Hersh agrees with that general plot. We agree with that plot, but we disagree on how it was done exactly, but we generally are on the same page. So how do you know when Hersh said the divers came from Panama City in Florida? It's where the Navy SEAL, the EOD teams, the ex-MCM teams, they all train there. All the top divers in the world, they train in Panama City. So how can you prove this kind of thing? You'd have to put those exact units with the exact people who are the best in that exact specialist of prepping pipelines and blowing them up, okay? You'd have to place them at the spot at ball tops. Nobody has that information. They don't, if they do, it's not all in one place. It's scattered around. You'd also have to prove there was submarine activity there, because that's one way you could bring the divers down that nobody could ever track, is doing it through a sub. And Freddie found out that Germany was in charge of all the submarine activity during ball tops. And guess where the NATO training ground is for subs? Right on the blast site. Right over the blast site. And deep enough for submarines. So that's why they chose that spot. Of all the spots along 1,000 kilometers or whatever, they chose that spot. And there were shallower spots that you wouldn't even need to do a deco dive. You could do it in 30 meters. They didn't choose those. They chose another spot. Why? Because they needed submarines. That's what Freddie believed. And guess what he found? Look at this. So Freddie was watching Danish TV, and they were showing off during ball tops in a local Danish television program aboard the Sullivan Danish naval vessel. And while the NATO people were showing off, they flashed this on screen in the background. So Freddie did a little 4K blow up on it. And sure enough, guys, it's the NATO organizational chart for Baltops 22. Every single unit involved in the drill, who's under whose command, who's in charge, which countries are in charge of what, all there. So this is basically a map to reverse engineering the Nord Stream sabotage. So that is an incredible find. It's just one of the things that are in this article, which is up at 21 Wire by Freddie Ponton. Here we go. Nord Stream revolution, submarines in the NATO lake. The NATO lake, ladies and gentlemen, is the Baltic Sea. So incredible piece of journalism and great information. Reads like a Netflix series, I'm told, by some of the feedback we've gotten already. And this is the interview you want to check out, you guys, that goes with the article. It's up here. So read the article, watch this interview here, and it's fantastic. So I think this is the best piece of work Freddie has ever done for us, and he's done some great reports for us, by the way.
Yeah,
great reports. This is the best he's done, I would say. It's so well put together. The sourcing is impeccable. The references are rock solid. It's all open source, basically. It's all what's out in the public. From one way or another, he pulled all this out of the public domain. Now, we have spoke to SEALs, both not active but retired or inactive, who work in the professional sector now. Some in the oil and gas sector, by the way. No surprise there, right? And EOD people, active duty in NATO. And they confirmed that, yes, you would need super, super specialized diving teams that have been training and are basically at the top of their game for at least 10 years, minimum. Like this is a very small echelon of potential operatives to pull off a job like this. So the story of the drunk Ukrainian divers, guys, this is the Wall Street Journal's version of what happened. A drunken evening, a rented yacht, the real story of the Nord Stream pipeline sabotage, a drunk band of Ukrainian super soldiers sailing aimlessly in the Baltic. Managed to pull this one off, guys. Are you buying that story?
No, clearly not. If I may, real quick, I just want to congratulate Freddie and 21 Wire on this one. This has been years in the making. This has been a years-long project that Freddie and Patrick have been working on. And we're running our winter fundraising drive right now, and things like that are just not possible without your support. Let me just add a little bit also to this, Patrick. In my previous career, I worked in large-scale military experimentation. I know what what it is to set up a group like this, you know, a group of military assets like this, get them intercommunicating, have experimental initiatives, understand data collection and data collection points, and then analyze and collect all that, and then analyze all of that data after the fact. This is a huge tens of millions of dollar sort of thing. And we're very lucky, number one, that Germany was in charge of the submarine crews, and number two, that Freddie did such good work. Because I tell you this, you can read about all different kinds of large-scale military experiments that we do. Jade Helm is probably the one that most people will remember, because Alex Jones had a hissy fit about that one. But we do these things concurrently all year round. Every year we do them in all different theaters of operation. And generally speaking, when the United States is in charge of these and we have our submarine assets involved, you will not find an organizational chart like that. Even inside of those experiments, as someone who was working inside it and seeing presentations, slide decks like this one that you're showing on the screen that Freddie found and did some forensics on, that stuff is all excluded. Our submarine resources are one of our best kept secrets. We do not mess around with submarine locations, information about submarines. So the fact that he found that in an open source format and has been able to parlay that into this article is a feat. I mean, this is a journalistic feat, and it would not have happened if the United States was in charge of that org chart. That is the only reason we have that, and I completely agree with the assessment that this would not have been possible without submarine resources and really, really tier one EOD people. So hats off to Freddie, hats off to you and 21, and we need your support to keep these things going, because this is an intense type of thing that's going on in the background here at 21 Wire for months on end. I mean, we've been talking about this release since last summer, I think.
Yeah, 20 months, so 2 years. So we've been working on this for 2 years, exactly 2 years. So it's been a slow build up, but yeah, you know, Hesher, there's the chart. You see, Freddie's highlighted in red. That's the submarine authority. That's at the top of the chart with the Supreme Allied Commander. So that tells you how important submarine activity is in the Baltic. So so they control all the information, starts there, and it's a fully compartmentalized drill operation with a majority of people on here. The majority of all of these operatives basically don't know what's going on. They just know what their role is, and they're just there to execute whatever their orders are and to collect data afterwards, like you said, analyze performance, all of that stuff. And so the only people who really know are the people who are in, I think, the diving teams, which are in this blue. So he's even broken it down into brown, blue, green, purple, what each of those boxes represents in terms of the the military assignment of what their function is, which is like an incredible insight into this. But again, hats off to Freddie. There's the article, folks, and get this, read it and share it. There's Freddie. He's the author there. We'll bring his picture up on screen so you know he's a regular on the Midweek Wire. There he is. There's Freddie. Bring up his archive. There it is. So look at some of the great reports Freddie has filed here. He's done some excellent work of late. And Yalta 2.0, this is a great article by Freddie, From Conflict to Cooperation, basically laying out a possible peace plan post-Ukraine, something enduring, and just some great research. But this is really quite something. This article, it really is quite something. So we're like very, very happy to be able to publish something of this quality. And I think it hopefully make an impact in this investigation. A lot of open source researchers are basically relying on each other to crack certain parts of this story because it's just so complicated. You're dealing with NATO, you're dealing with like dozens of countries, you know, vessels, different branches of military, the political level, the military level, the intelligence level, plus other foreign actors, etc. It's very complicated. And I think that's one of the things that makes this a kind of a hard thing to prove. Even though we kind of all instinctively know what happened, we still can't hold anyone's feet to the fire unless Trump or, you know, Vance wants to throw Biden under the bus for Nord Stream. I'm just throwing out that possibility, you guys. I mean, that's an easy one, isn't it? It's kind of a slam dunk, right? You could just
open goal,
but it will be the end of NATO, guys. Okay, just so you know, that'll be curtains for NATO, but it might.
It's a good trump card to have, pun intended. I mean, you know, if NATO were to buck back against, you know, whatever Trump's plans are moving forward, he could always bust that out. So hopefully he's watching. It'd be a good extra trump card to have in your pocket if you got to go toe to toe with NATO.
Yeah, this was the biggest F up in the history of geopolitics by NATO. Whoever greenlit this really should go down history as the biggest dunce and the most reckless person in history. And I'm like wondering who it is. Is it Joe? Is it Jake Sullivan? Is it Hillary? Is it Susan Rice? Who's responsible for Nord Stream? Like, who made that first call? That's what I would love to know.
Activision did it. That's the company, right, Hesher, who makes the Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, Black Ops video games. Yep. Yeah. If we're not careful, we're going to lose Freddie Ponton to the game developers because he could write some of those intense cutscenes and those battles, those clandestine operations.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. That's probably where they get the ideas for these things, right? I think there's a lot of truth in the fiction. See, the people who would normally be reporting about this, like the Freddie Pontons of the world, are wasting that amount of good information on Hollywood, Tom Clancy novels, Clive Cussler adventures, and video games. And that's where the realm of possibility becomes reality for folks, because when you witness it or play along in a video game or read it in one of your books or watch it on your TV in a Netflix series, you would absolutely believe this insane stuff is true. But when you see it in front of your face in real life, you refuse to believe it. Why? Because the New York Times said otherwise, that it was a bunch of drunken yahoos? Come on, people.
Yeah, Spore and I fought in Yemen before any of the fighting started. Guess where? On Call of Duty.
Oh, really?
We used to play the Yemen map all the time back in like, I don't know, 2011, 2012, something like that.
Yeah, I don't always put the comments on screen, guys, but I just sometimes I get I'm a bit like on the spectrum. I don't even look at stuff sometimes, but I'll put this one on. Give Zelensky a job as deck officer on the submarine.
Swab the deck
while it's submerged. Yeah, I think so. I think he can manage that. Actually, I think he'd manage that. And here, that's AA. Thanks for that comment. Appreciate it. And then Automatic Selecta says they took advantage of a senile old man with Nord Stream. Yeah, I fully agree. Joe is a victim of sorts. He is a victim. He was put up to it. Yeah. And we're meant to think that maybe it was an accident. Some people are saying. So yes, here's the good one. Zelensky. This is Michelle Hiddink. Zelensky brainwave bullied in the Wirt house. I think that might be a typo there. And interesting. Interesting. Here's a little compliment for you guys. You earn new followers, fellows. Brian and Adam. I'll check out the article. Thanks. Thank you very much. That's Harper's HODL, and it's some kind of looks like the Gordian knot, the sideways 8 figure 8, 21M. I don't know. It's very cryptic.
There's some numerology I'm interested in there. I'm not sure what to make of it, but I like it.
It's very cryptic. Yes. And someone made a comment here, a quote from Lyndon LaRouche. I won't go into it, but Yeah, I mean, this is Chatter X. I might as well put this up on stage. The ruling British elite are like animals, not only in their morality, but in their outlook on knowledge. They are clever animals who are masters of the wicked nature of their own species, says Chatter X. Nothing nice to say about the British. Here, Chatter X goes on. Nonetheless, obsessively dedicated to being such animals, they cannot assimilate with those qualities unique to true human beings. That's a quote by Lyndon LaRouche. Okay, Lyndon LaRouche's main conspiracy, like the unifying conspiracy that was, the key to unlock all is the British. The British are behind everything. That's the LaRouche doctrine, basically. So Lyndon passed away, ran for president a couple times, has a very formidable organization that's still going strong, and that has quite a formidable knowledge base. Like they have research teams, and they're very good on foreign policy and so many other things. So, I mean, people you joke about Lyndon LaRouche. Some people, makes cracks about him and whatnot, but his organization's still going strong long after he's gone. So, I mean, he built something there that's pretty formidable. So respect where respect is due. And yeah, so they're like, this whole Zelensky thing's just ripped the whole mask off of the British manipulation behind the scenes of geopolitics. And Keir Starmer's panicking because Zelensky is their big meal ticket. I mean, this is the thing that's going to keep Britain in the game. And Trump's like saying, no, we're done with it. Britain's like, no, you can't. America can't drop the ball on this. What are we going to do? What are we going to go back to, like being a normal country and, trading and doing like normal things? Or we can't overthrow governments anymore and, do subterfuge, use America, draft behind America and do all sorts of things and manipulate things and assassinate leaders and blow up pipelines and stuff.
Stolen American tax dollars. Yay.
So interesting. Yeah, so we got a couple interesting commenters there. So great to see you guys. Appreciate it. And yeah, if you're tuning in to any of the live streams, appreciate you guys. And yes, Hesher, thanks for shouting out the last week of the 21st Century Wire Winter Fundraising Drive here. We really appreciate your support, you guys. And look, if you have any way to support us, it will go to good use. Trust me, any donations or subscribe and become a member at 21wire.tv. We're adding new programming, as you can see, with the midweek wire. So that's 2 shows a week. We'll be adding a third soon as we can stabilize this thing. And we need your help to do it. And also, we're doing some great investigative independent journalism, which, as Hesher said, it's not easy. And believe you me, it's not cheap. We have reinvested everything that we get back into the product and back into maintaining our platform, as well as all the various things that technology subscriptions that we need to have for all the different aspects, including security for our website. So it does add up at the end of the month, of course. And we have a small team of volunteers, a couple of part-timers, and we need your help. We're going to need your help now more than ever. So if you find it within your heart and you like what we do, you like the sort of views that we are espousing, the reports that we are filing, and the types of pundits that we are platforming, like these fine gentlemen here on screen from ACR, please support us if you can. And then before we chip off, guys, and give us a shout out about your activities, your subterfuge operations. Go ahead, Hesher and Ruckus. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ruckus.
Yeah, sure. Of course, I do host and produce the Daily Ruckus. Got some new content coming out this week. I also have been now every Monday, basically, I'm appearing as co-host on Weaponized News alongside Sam Cheney. So that's what I've been up to there. And then Hesher and myself were just our good friend and colleague, Johnny Vedmore, has a brand new entertaining and informative, unique as all get out program called Truth Bomb. It's actually a quiz show, an actual game show. And me and Hesher were contestants versus each other on one of the Truth Bomb episodes, which is premiering on the streams for Johnny Vedmore right now. So after
cool.
the Sunday Wire, at your leisure, you'll be able to find that wherever you find Johnny Vedmore and Newspaste. That was great fun. And of course, you'll find me doing the Boiler Room thing with Hesher, which you'll find all about from him. And thanks for having me on the Sunday Wire again, Patrick.
Yeah, cheers, Ruckus, Daily Ruckus. And what are the times when do you just subscribe to the podcast, or do you put them out on
Just
regular
follow
time?
me on my X, AC_wordslinger. Just, pop in the website, come to our Discord. I get them out when I can, and then I make an announcement. So no plans, no time, no schedule. It's very light and loose and casual with the Daily Ruckus right now.
If you're following us on X, everybody, right now, I've tagged Hesher and Ruckus up in the tag of the title of the show. It says at Hesher Media and at AC_wordslinger. That's Ruckus's handle. So you can just click on there and follow these two gentlemen, and you'll get updates and you'll see their content as they're posting it. But thanks, Ruckus. Hesher, go ahead.
Okay, just a parting side note for you, Patrick. Get your sick bag out. Did you know that Sarah Adams is actually on Sean Ryan's team? She's part of like his research staff.
Wow,
bro. I was like, bro.
That's wild.
That's wild. So I wanted to throw that out there, but if for anyone that was following our analysis of that whole cast of characters. And then also the other night I was watching a streaming show, much in the vein of like a Tom Clancy, like Ruckus was mentioning. I think it's called Night Agent. And it's Sean Ryan is a big name on that one. So go figure. So our current, sort of Clancy style zeitgeist stuff, Sean Ryan's right up in there in the entertainment industry. I don't know if he's an EP or what he is, but his name is all over that show. And it's got various cloudy geopolitical good and bad guys in there, and all the stuff you would expect from a vet bro intrigue type of show. So I just thought I'd throw that out there for you. I know you've been following that whole set of topics, and I thought those were interesting pieces to add to it real quick.
Yeah, and I'll notice I see, is that a Cohiba in the background, Hesher? I see the wrapper on the end of that cigar.
Yeah.
However, when glancing quickly across the screen, it does look like a Ukrainian flag. So suspiciously like a Ukrainian flag. So the conspiratorium will be buzzing in the chat room, wondering if Hesher is sending subliminal messages to our audience.
Dang, did I just lose my invite to seek refuge in Russia? Sorry about that. No.
Been promoting Zelensky all this time. No, just kidding.
We sent javelins. Obama sent sheets. Okay. You can follow me and Ruckus and us at Alternate Current Radio on YouTube, at Alternate Current Radio on Rumble, at Boiler Room. And where else? On Rockfin, at Boiler Room, on x.com, at Hesher Media, and yeah, alternatecurrentradio.com. We need your support also. This is it takes up everything we got. We've put everything we got into this. So if you want to help us out too, or Ruckus, you can find out how to do that at our website, alternatecurrentradio.com. Aside from that, please share our stuff. Thank you to all the people in the various chats today. And thanks for the new follows. We've seen some new follows come through during the show. There's one of our images for Boiler Room up there. We're live Thursday nights doing Boiler Room. So all those archives are up at alternatecurrentradio.com and on our video streaming websites. And thanks again for having me, Pat. And everybody have a great rest of your weekend. Let's get ready for another wacky and intriguing week of politics and news.
Yeah, indeed. It's a pleasure to have you guys on board, and to take some pot shots on Zelensky. A few kicks while he's down. I'm sure everyone got pleasure out of that. It's just that cathartic experience we're providing. A lot of the pent up angst and aggression from this war And so we were very happy to see Trump blow the top off it. So let's just hope that something positive comes from this. So this is what we're hoping and praying. But thank you, gentlemen. Again, follow Hesher and Ruckus, Bryan McClain, Adam Clark. Follow these gentlemen and follow their shows, their content, subscribe, and support their work, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you guys next time. And we'll be in touch on the back channels as well. Much to talk about during the week, folks. And Basil wasn't able to join us. Basil Valentine wasn't able to join us this week, but we'll be catching up to him shortly anyway. But if you like Basil, you can catch him on the pulse.today. You'll see some of his recent work up there. He's doing a lot of interviews there on the beta site for the Pulse, which is the heir apparent to TNT Radio. So that will be an interesting project as it's developing. And so do support that project as well as follow Basil Valentine, ladies and gentlemen. We'll bring some of those details up later as we will have to have a conclave in the background with Mr. Valentine. And again, this is the Sunday Wire, folks. If you just happen to be tuning in on one of the live streams, this is every Sunday, 12 till 3 Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. Be a slight alteration for a while for daylight savings when it arrives in March or April or whenever it's Easter, I think. 5 till 8 p.m. UK time. So 2 to 3 hours, it depends. But yeah, we're sort of flexible there. And the Midweek Wire, which we broadcast on these same platforms, we will actually be out streaming that on 21st Century Wire starting on Wednesday. So you can check us out on the Midweek Wire. We've had some epic broadcasts there as well. So those are two really good, high quality podcasts and shows running live every week. And again, as I said, we'll be adding a third program, which will be totally different, much more informal and sort of in the outdoors-ish variety, if you know what I mean. So we'll be launching that as soon as we get the midweek stabilized. We just started. We're in our 6th week coming up. So that's kind of cool, kind of exciting. And the content is amazing. So I'm just trying to keep up with it all, folks. So yeah, we need your support again on our winter fundraising drive. If you like what we do, you want to see us do more of it and take it to another level, we'll need your help to make that happen. So get in there before we shut this fundraiser for this season. And again, subscribe and become a member at 21wire.tv. There's a lot of you support us, and there's a lot of you that watch us, but maybe you don't support us, but we hope that you will. And so we invite you to join our family. Definitely subscribe to our members website, which we will also be moving on to developing as soon as we get our 3rd program done. We will then move to redesign our members suite, including a lot more exclusive members content. So get in early, folks. It's very cheap and inexpensive, but it goes a long way. We need a bunch of you guys to subscribe to really make this project viable going forward. So I appreciate all your support, everybody. Again, I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. It's been absolutely amazing. This has been a great broadcast, as it has been this week. The Nord Stream story we dropped, amazing. Zelensky's meltdown in the White House, folks. I mean, it's been quite something. So anyway, we're going to be wrapping it up. Thank you for tuning in on the live stream. Stay tuned to 21stcenturywire.com throughout the week. Follow us on X. Follow us on our other social media feeds. You'll see them when you go to our main mothership, 21stcenturywire.com. Take care, everybody. Hope you have a great week. All the best.
For in the final analysis, we all inhabit this small planet, and we are all mortal.
Lately I've been watching the world gone mad. Brothers and sisters full to take a stand. to hate their fellow man, another man. Divide and conquer is the acronym plan. Distract the people, control the story. Don't believe your lying eyes, you know me. Stay in power, no matter what. Play with the doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and gather your trust. Pushing us to turn to good. Corruption and lies. Truth is the crime, will turn to dust. Well-designed misery to keep you on edge, make you believe anything anyone says. Keep it left or right, not top or bottom. Accuse the victim, can't you see we got 'em? Stay in power, no matter what. Playing with the doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and gather your trust. Pushing us to turn to dust. With captured rights, feudals like child will turn to dust. Industrialized brutality, commercialized cruelty, people as commodity, cheer on war and atrocity, no accountability, perpetual impunity, always have an enemy to hell of all humanity. Stay in power, no matter what. Play with the doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and gather your trust. Pushing us to turn to dust. Stay in power, cash in the spot. Play with the doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and join the cause. Pushing us to turn to dust. An empire of lies, history rhymes will turn to dust. Digital inmates, scored on every move. Nowhere to hide, nothing to hold on to. Return to dust, as we turn to dust, as we turn to dust. Supervised contact. They watch our every move. They examine our togetherness like we've got something to prove. I've looked behind your eyes. I've seen the sadness you hide. I've looked into your eyes. I've seen the tears that you've cried. No, I won't get used to these chains. No, I won't get used to these chains. in the legal arena. Upset theaters are staged. She moves in circles. Her cruel games cause delays. From the questions you ask me, like why can't you come home tonight? From the moment you hold me, it's the shortest hour of my life. No, I won't get used to these chains. I wanna tell you what I'm feeling. I wanna tell you what I know. Someday the truth will know. I wanna tell you what I'm feeling. I wanna tell you what I know. Someday the truth will flow. Restricted freedoms. They say I've got to be careful with what I say. Their conspiracy of silence. They think the truth will lead you astray. They say that they're here for you, but they never listen to what you say. They've built walls between us. I will walk through walls to break these chains. No, I won't get used to these chains. No, I won't get used to these chains.